Well, good morning. Actually, it's morning for me. Good morning and welcome back. This is Spencer Brinkerhoff III. Today we are recording once again recording live from studios. Where's that little button? SB3. I'm pointing to the logo at the bottom. And today we are talking about Star Wars because that's what we do every day. We're talking about the Star Wars Celebration Orlando in 2017, and we're taking the little bit of time to meet with each one of the artists who are participating in the art show. Today I have the distinct pleasure of meeting with and interviewing Katie Cook. Hi, Katie.
Hey, hi.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank
I,
you.
I asked you earlier. I follow you on social media. I know everything, every detail of your life.
Yes.
And I asked how it is that things are so quiet today, and you're in the perfect situation. Everything is perfect this morning, right?
Yes, it's like the dogs are gone. Actually, no, one's right here. Now that I said it. And the kids are on spring break, so they're actually both at their daycare today. Ryan is at work, and I get to work all day with no
Yes.
interruptions and except for the dog trying to get in my lap right now.
Now, I think that's wonderful that you get to work all day, but really, it's just drawing. Is that work? I mean,
It's I tell everybody that even the worst, most stressful day of my job is still the best day of my job because
right,
this is my job. I mean, it's nutty. It's crazy. I get to draw or write all day.
right.
And it's like today I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do this thing with Spencer and then I'm gonna drink a pot of coffee and I'm not gonna go into the office until 9.
And the office is the basement, is the cave, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. I have a walkout basement in my house that we've transformed into my studio. So I'm very lucky to have a dedicated space.
right. Now, you weren't always, sitting in a basement and drawing pictures all day. In your former job, you were a designer. You did like
Hmm.
boxes and layout work. Is that what it was?
Yeah, it's I used to work for a studio and we did parts of it was like scrapbooking supplies
Yeah,
for like Michaels and stuff like that, and then it was packaging design for Target and Walmart or signage design or like die lines for like those big cardboard things that
right,
retail people have to put
right.
together to put stuff on. So basically, I designed die lines
That's
for
wonderful.
years.
And for those people who don't know, this is the die lines are the lines that they're used to sort of like fold and shape the boxes and the cutouts to build things. Is that what it is?
Yeah, yeah. So basically, I was a puzzle person.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was
Right?
a ton of fun. But I quit. I think almost 7 years ago at this point,
Right. And,
which is
and
insane.
and what was it that was the transition there? I know that you'd been going to comic book conventions. You've been sort of like doing your own artwork. But what point was it that you kind of said, "Hey, I'm doing this well enough that I can like break off from the day job and go full time in my basement."
My big thing was I had just been starting work on Fraggle Rock,
Right.
and I had done a few other projects, and I was going to Comic Con. I was using all my vacation days to go try and get work in comics, or I was taking vacation time to take time off of my day job to get deadlines done for my comic book projects. And I finally realized that I could make more money and be happier doing comic books. And I took a chance and I decided to turn in my notice. And I told my husband Ryan, I was like, I think I'm going to quit.
Yeah.
And he was like, all right. So I wrote out my 2 weeks notice and I taped it under my keyboard at work. And I was just kind of waiting for that moment of like, this is it.
Right.
And then something had happened that I had been promised a raise and I wasn't getting it. I had been promised a new job title because I was an art director at that point.
Right.
Um, but I was still being kind of treated like an intern as far as some of the things they were making me do because
Right.
they were getting rid of staff and I was taking on all of this excess work.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And finally, my boss had been like, well, we've got this huge project coming up and you're not going to get anybody but you for it. So they were trying to get me to force 6 weeks worth of a project into a week and a half all by myself.
Yeah.
And I went, I'll be right back.
And you reached underneath the keyboard And you went, I've been waiting for this moment.
Yeah. And I took out my 2 weeks notice and I handed it in. And I said, by the way, I have 2 weeks of vacation time I haven't taken because you guys haven't let me take any. So today's my last day.
Wow. That's
And
amazing.
I went home and I've been full-time freelance ever since.
I think that it's one of the problems that sort of like artists face is that um, it- I think that our minds work in crazy, amazing ways. And what happens with that is people don't completely realize that it's work. It's stressful.
Mhm.
It's taxing on us to be creative. And it's not just a labor type of a thing. It's full body engagement, in
Yeah.
this art process. And so
Well,
that's
and I treat it like an 8 to 5.
yeah.
And then it's like last night after my kids went to bed, I was back in the office from 9 p.m. until midnight.
Well, that's not
And
eight
that's,
to five, by the way. That's
I know, but that's like I had an extra thing.
oh
But
right,
it's a typical day for me is I wake up and I go take my kids to school and then I come home. And yes, even though I work from home, I don't turn on the TV. I don't do any of that stuff. I drink my coffee and then I go down to my office and I'm there. It's like I feel guilty if I go out to lunch, like a
right,
typical office job.
right.
So usually I eat my lunch standing in the middle of my kitchen, and my lunch consists of like dipping a couple pretzels in a tub of hummus. And then I'm
Yes.
like, I should get back to work.
I don't think that's lunch, by the way.
Uh, in some universe it is.
Right.
And then I go back to work, and then I go until 5, which is when I go pick my kids up from their daycare. And then it's, then I'm at home. And I try not to work on the weekends if I can help it. And I think the best course for me has always been to treat it like a normal job. But
Right.
it's taxing because it's like, oh man, yeah, I got to draw this thing today, but I got to draw the Millennium Falcon today. And there's a lot of stuff involved in that. And like you got
Right.
to mentally
Right.
prepare yourself for it. And then it's like, I just started seeing a physical therapist for my shoulder because it's like
Oh,
I'm killing
really?
my shoulder being
So
hunched over either the drawing table or the Cintiq all day.
so did they put you in a new chair? Did they do something? Is there something else that they're doing in addition to sort of like just the physical therapy part, or
Yeah,
they,
we changed out some of my stuff to a standing workstation.
right?
I have a different chair, and then they have me for the past 3 months. They've been having me do yoga.
Oh yes, I saw the
Um,
picture of you with the kids yoga.
yep,
It's like you're a jungle gym.
yep. So I have to wait until they go to bed to do it, but it
Right.
has almost 100% opened my shoulder back up because it has
Oh,
gotten
that's
like so
wonderful.
tight from that motion of just doing these tiny
Right.
little
Right.
circles. So that has helped, thank God.
So the standing desk is helping, standing in your kitchen for lunch, that's helping, all of
Yes.
these things combined
If you eat
together.
over the sink, you don't need to wash a dish.
Exactly. So you're planning ahead for what's happening next. Now, I in addition to the work that you're doing drawing, one of the things that I think is wonderful, it's a fun story, is you actually had people come up to you and they don't know that you're an artist. They
Yes.
only know you from writing. How did you
hmm
start in sort of like transitioning from that writing career? How do you become a writer? How did that happen?
Pure dumb luck. Oh
Pure
my
done.
God.
The internet strike again.
Yeah. It's, I'd written some comics before and I wrote my own webcomic, Gronk.
Oh right,
And then
right.
all of a sudden, I made a comment on Twitter. I had been watching the new My Little Pony show, I think back when the second season first started. I think they're on season like 6 now. And I said, hey, I really like the new My Little Pony show. It's really well written. And an editor at IDW that I know said, hey, we just got the license for that. Do you want to write it? And I was like, write it? Write it? Not
Yeah,
draw it? No, we all think you're funny online. You
right,
want to write it. So I had to scramble because I had never written a multi-arc thing.
right.
My Little Pony 1 through 4 was the first multiple issue comic book I'd ever written. Um, and then it ended up pre-selling over 100,000 copies, so no pressure.
Yeah, yeah. You're good. You're good. No problem there at all.
And now I get projects coming down the line where I'm the writer on it because I spent 4 years writing My Little Pony, and then I wrote some short stuff for Marvel. I did a Gotham Academy story for DC. And man, it's weird.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing is that it's amazing. It's amazing weird. So when you're working on these things, it sort of like speaks to that whole creative drive and that creative nature is that it's not just about, that you're putting pen to paper. You're actually thinking about the process. You're thinking about the environment, thinking about the story, and telling your own story. And I think that that's something that we can also see in sort of like not necessarily a transition, but your Star Wars Celebration art pieces have been these gigantic labors of millions and millions of characters in this fantastically gigantic like odd shaped like art print, and this time around you're like, I'm gonna pare things down and I'm going to tell a story. So
Yeah,
so with this new piece, I forget what it's called.
called Making Friends,
Oh my goodness, that's
which is
right.
just absolutely heartbreaking. Um,
Yes. Oh, I'm zooming in on the art piece right now so that I can show it off a little bit. Making friends. It's little Ray, and she is literally scavenging through the desert and making her own friends. You know, tell us about this piece and how it is that you came to make this terribly sad story.
I know. Well, it's I wanted to do something with Ray because, both of my kids, not so much the 3-year-old, but the 6-year-old has never really had that twinkle in her eye for Star Wars, which just
Right.
breaks my goddamn heart. But when we saw Force Awakens, all of a sudden it was Rey, and it was like, I need a Rey costume, I need a lightsaber,
Wow.
I need this, I need what? This is what Star Wars is? Why haven't you shown me this before? Is there more of it? And it was like, why,
That's
yes, there's more
beautiful.
Star Wars.
That's beautiful.
And so I really wanted to do something because I hear that story from so many parents now that Rey is their Luke Skywalker, Rey is their Princess Leia, Rey is
Right.
their person that they've attached to, be it a little boy or a little girl. That's who is Star Wars to them now. And I was like, I want to do something about Rey, and I wanted to do something from her childhood. And there was this thing that's like I really focused in on this little doll that's in the AT-AT that she lives in. And there's a little bit of a story that's in that Pablo did with the DK visual guide, that she finds this helmet, and so she makes a doll and she names it, the person who was on the helmet. And I was thinking about the fact that she grows up on Jakku.
Right.
She has nobody but Unkar Plutt, which is just like sad.
Right.
I can't imagine there's kids to play with, and any kind of environment to flourish in as a child. So it's like, what does she do? She has to use her imagination and she has to make her own friends. So I tried to show in these 5 panels, because first you see her being resourceful. You see her finding the helmet.
Yes.
And then you see her being determined. That's the one where she's inside this Imperial destroyer. And I imagine that she's a 12-year-old badass, and she's like, nope, I need that. I need that scrap of fabric over there. So she's determined to get it. And then you see her bartering, like at a really young age. And I think that shows cleverness and this kind of resilience. And then you see her being crafty, and putting this whole thing together, but also in the AT-AT that she lives alone, which
Yeah.
is terrible.
And the helmet is there, and her
Yep,
Instabread is there, and she's got her
yep,
scissors in her cup back there. But yes, she's
yep.
she's being resourceful on her own.
And then the last panel is the dreamer and the imagination. So it was like all of a sudden, here's all the qualities that I find in Rey that I tried to put in these panels,
Right.
that all end in her having, who's pretty much her lone companion on this planet. And you can see it even still had a special place in her heart in adulthood in Force Awakens. She gives it a special nod. And there was a part of me, after I did this piece, I was like, man, she wants to go back to Jakku to get that guy back.
That's
That's
true.
why.
It's her Wilson, you know?
Hmm. And I tried to tell the story of this little tiny doll. So it's not so it's Rey's story and the coming together of this little character. And it's sad, and that's why I also named it Making Friends, because it's like, man, that was her friend.
Right. Right. But I mean, it's also something that we can see in her character throughout, that sequence in The Force Awakens, and when she meets Finn and she hears about, all of these other adventures, she has this light in her eyes, her brightness, that she's sort of like, I think it's when he says Luke Skywalker, she just like lights up. This is a part where you can see that her imagination, her part of her life growing up, she's heard of these places, she's heard of this other life, and you can capture a little glimpse of her imagination, her longing, and all of that is in this little piece, and I absolutely adore it. Now, what
Thank you.
was it a sort of like a little bit of a relief, to do something that was less involved with this the celebration piece than organizing the whole trilogy worth of characters? Was it a
Well,
break?
it's a lot of people were expecting me to do a big Force Awakens piece, but I don't want to do that until the new trilogy is finished. I planned out the other three posters all ahead of time,
Right.
so they would all fit together, and things would really mesh when all three of them were there. And I was like, well, I don't want to do a Force Awakens ones because I don't know what happens in 8. I don't know what happens in 9.
Wait,
So
you don't know what happens? We'll talk off. No, I'm just kidding. I have no idea.
and it's I didn't want to jump the gun on it, and I know I can't sell 3 celebrations worth of prequel posters, so I just skipped over those entirely. So
Well, the other thing that you said that I really, really enjoy is that it was through The Force Awakens that your kids were finally able to make that connection. And with a lot of people, they look at the character of Ahsoka, and that's their sort of like to Star Wars. That's how they became, the Star Wars fans that they are, is through the Clone Wars, and then seeing her come back in Rebels was a really big deal. And so I really, really, really love Star Wars, but the way that The Force Awakens takes this new story, or this old story from a new perspective, and I love the way that is bringing in a whole new series of fans. Did you ever think that, with this being the 40th anniversary of A New Hope, that you might go back and do something else from Star Wars A New Hope, or maybe Rogue One? I mean, was there something happy that you could like pull out of Rogue One?
it's a wonderful children's story.
Yes, about dead people. The action figures kill me. Sorry. The idea of playing with the action figures is just so morbid for me, because I'm like, da da da, and now he's dead.
Ponda Baba survived.
Yes.
But no, it's with Rogue One. I loved Chirrut. He's my favorite, and it was like I would have loved to do something with that. But at the heart of it, I am a children's artist, and children are not attached to the Rogue One character.
Right.
Most people that buy the posters that I do for Celebration buy them for their kids' rooms.
Right.
So their kids can have something Star Wars. And, and A New Hope, it's, I've been doing a lot of original trilogy stuff with the children's books, ABC-3PO and Obi-Wan-2-3.
Right.
And it was like, I didn't want to rehash some famous scene that I'd already done for one of the books. So I wanted to do something new. And I wanted to do something that was illustrative and different and hard to frame.
And hard to frame. So what size is this art piece then?
It's actually, it's 11 3/4 by 36. Which I picked because there is a frame at Michael's that size.
Oh, there you go. What is the name frame called? Do you know?
It's just one of their standard like studio whatever, like their house brand.
Right.
But man, it was like I am going to be benevolent this year.
Yes, thank you, Katie.
Show people that I
that
I can
that
put
you've
them in
listened to the
$20
people.
frames.
And I think that that's something really, really insightful, is that if you take the time to think about, not only are people going to spend money to buy the art print, but they're going to want to put it on their wall. And if they can go to Michael's and it pops right into a frame that they don't need to do anything special or custom on, then that's just an added bonus with it, And they've got the frames, just a little black, you sort of like frame. It's like a poster frame. It usually is $20, but then Michael's is fantastic about having their 50% off sales and stuff. So you're good to go. And what is the price on the art print then?
It's
$50. Okay.
And I did it all. It was offset lithography. I just picked up the prints yesterday, but I went in when they were on the press. We printed them all on this ginormous Heidelberg Speed Pass, which is one of the best offset presses in the business. It's like I insisted that they do everything on there. We did all the proof checks. I watched the plates come off the lines myself. We checked everything for scratches. So I spent, a lot of time working with the printer to make sure everything looked great.
And I think that that's another part of this process that people don't, stop to consider, is that you are taking the time to not only ensure that the artwork is correct and that it's all sort of like tells this story, but you're physically going down to the print shop and sort of like bossing them around, and you're being hyper. You enjoyed that, didn't you?
Yeah.
That you're being hyper aware that people are going to spend their money, to get this art print, and you're going to make sure that it's the best quality that they can get. So that's a thank you. Thank you for making sure that it's all done properly.
Yeah, and for me, it's a blast. I used to work in print and design and things like that. So I mean, the fact that I was down there for a day picking out paper,
right,
is fun
right.
for me. It's printed on an 80-pound silk cardstock, just so everybody knows. It's
Wow.
beautiful.
Did you sit over the silkworms and make sure that they were properly producing I don't know what the 80-pound silk is.
It's the texture of the paper.
Wow.
And it's got this beautiful matte quality to it while still having a little bit of a sheen when the ink hits it, and I just think that it was exactly what I wanted. And it was pricey. So
right.
That is why the print is $50.
Right. Now, I wanted to ask you a little bit also about the process that you went through to make this print. I know that one of the things that you've been doing at the conventions, and you make quite the mess, is you do these wonderful watercolor little mini paintings. And
Yeah.
And I've been watching sort of like your progress. If you've experimented with some of the digital, well, it's 7 years, as you experimented with some of the digital technologies. And so tell me about the process that you go through to sort of like do these art pieces. Are you sketching in notebooks? I know that you're working your normal 8 to 5, but you can't stop your imagination, Do you have a dedicated sketchbook that you're throwing ideas in, and then you're translating those onto the computer, or how does that work?
I have, a pile of sketchbooks that I keep next to my old man chair in our living room for when I'm,
Wait,
sitting there at night.
Your old man chair?
I have an old man chair.
Okay. Is it
that's my
gigantic?
dedicated chair.
Yes.
And it's, usually it's like the dad of the family has like
Right.
their chair in the living room. No, Ryan sits
that's
on the
right.
couch.
That's the one that the Smithsonian has contacted you about. They're going to put that in the museum with the little metal label. Here sat Katie Cook.
Yep. And that's what we all refer to as my dad chair.
Yes.
It's in a very specific spot, especially if we have the fireplace on. It's right next to the fireplace. And, I have a stack of books and, a little coffee cup full of pencils, or I sit there with my iPad Pro and just kind of doodle on that. Or if I'm, waiting to get the oil changed in the car, I'm sketching in a sketchbook. Or if I'm doing pretty much anything, I have something with me at all times. And so, it doesn't shut off. But,
Right.
For this piece, I had the idea, I think it was Thanksgiving, before all of the submissions were due. Or it was something, I was down at my in-laws' place in South Carolina, and I was kind of playing around with a couple of these big, crazy ideas. And then all of a sudden, I watched, some Force Awakens stuff again, and I was like, no, I really like the doll. And Ryan was like, don't do
Right.
the doll. I was like, I like the doll. Don't do the doll. I like the doll.
Right. Ryan was trying to tell you not to do
Yeah.
it. Ryan,
He
you
was
do
like,
your
I don't know
job.
about that. So, but yeah, it's and then the more I thought about it, I thought about, oh, well, I can play around with her collecting the pieces of this. And originally I had a lot more panels and they were all going to be a lot skinnier, and I was like, I don't need to have all of this.
Right. Right.
So I pared it down to the stuff that was important. And then it came into this 5-panel kind of thing.
Right.
And that was it. And then I have like thumbnails that were this big.
Yeah.
That then became pencils that were this big. And the original line art is traditional.
Okay.
It's on pieces of Bristol, and then I scanned those, I placed them, and then I colored everything in Photoshop.
Excellent.
So there's no watercolor is my typical medium. I mean, all the stuff I'm doing for Disney, not Lucasfilm Disney, but just Disney right now is all watercolor. But this is
And that's the Disney, the books that you're working on. Do you have some new books that you're working on right now? Are you talking about the OB123 and the
no, that was all Photoshop. I'm talking about some park merchandise.
Oh, okay.
But if you saw that big Haunted Mansion piece that I
Yes.
posted, that's all watercolor.
Okay.
And I'm working on a Jungle Cruise one right now, which is going to be a blast.
Awesome.
But all of the Lucasfilm stuff tends to be digital as far as the coloring, because then I can go, and if they're like, well, Kylo Ren's head looks a little too big, I can go
And scan and redo. Now, are you getting some of that feedback like that, or are they pretty sort of like, you know what you're getting when you sort of like hired Katie Cook to do the artwork?
yeah, it's minimal.
Right.
Sometimes it's like, can you make his lightsaber just a little bit more jagged, that kind of thing with
Right.
Kylo, or Darth Vader looks really sad in this, Katie. Why is Darth Vader so sad? And it's like, because he's a sad
Darth
man.
Vader. I mean, hello.
And
He
I can
hates
manage to
sand.
make Darth Vader's helmet look sad.
Yes. Yes. I love the emotion that you add to his
There's
helmet.
a comment of, or hey, you went a little overboard on the smoke effects with the Ugnaughts. Let's pull it back. And it's
Right.
like, but the carbonite chamber's smoky. But like I said, it's been minimal feedback, and it's
Right.
And it's their license, and they know the brand better than anybody. So far be it from me. I'm not going to argue back.
Well, and I think that that's another really important point, is that at the end of the day, as an artist, we're able to sort of like play in someone else's universe. And if they'd ask us to change it, then we're sort of like work for hire, and we do that. We accommodate that. But in addition to sort of like working in their universe, you're actually working in your own universe as well. And
Yeah.
we're getting close to sort of like our 30-minute point. It's been a wonderful conversation, but I want to make sure to mention that you have your own books that you've been creating that are completely your own. You have Gronk, that was a webcomic, as well as, was it IDW that picked up that one as well?
Action Lab.
Action Lab picked that up and did Gronk comic. And actually, I use some of Gronk's like very first panels as a guide for me in training my children. What movies do they need to know? Well, we need to watch Goonies. There's this one panel with Gronk has a stack of movies that she needs to know. And so there's that one, but then you have a whole stack of books that you've been signing in preparation for upcoming conventions. So I love that you are making your own work as well as playing in other people's universe.
Yeah, and I have a brand new creator-owned project coming out through a webtoon that I just finished the script, and I just laid out the first 6 chapters of. It's 28 chapters, completely creator-owned, and that's been a big focus for the past few months, which has been really insane.
What did you say? Webtoons? What's
Yep.
that?
Webtoon. It's they're a huge online kind of comic company. They were really big in Korea, and now they do a bunch of content here in the States. And they've asked several U.S. creators to kind of come up with original comics to just run, and I'm getting paid, which is nice. It's an original graphic novel by me, but we're going to premiere the whole thing online. It's going to be 28 weeks, 28
Wow.
chapters. So basically 28 issues of a book, and it's being online. It's very weird. It's not a traditional format for me. I get
Right.
to really kind of step out of the box.
Well, and I think it's interesting is because what they're doing is they kind of take that sort of like the serialized newspaper comic strip format, and they have different days. It's a weird combination of what used to be newspaper comic strips and sort of like TV shows. So there are the comic strips. They come out like every day, but the Katie Cook comic is going to come out like every Tuesday. Is that how it works? And
Yeah.
so it's got a fun sort of like a serialized vibe to it, but it's a web comic, like a traditional newspaper. It really is fascinating. I didn't know that that's what you were working on. That congratulations, that's amazing. And do you have did you say the release date on that?
I don't have an official release date. I left it kind of open so I could take my time.
Right.
Because I've gone a little insane with how detailed and crazy it is.
Oh wait,
But
you have your own free reign to create this graphic novel, and you've gone a little crazy on it, Katie.
Yep.
That doesn't fit the bill at all. I don't know what you're talking
I know,
about.
It just doesn't sound anything like me.
No, I don't know.
But it's been a blast.
Excellent.
It'll be fun.
Now, Katie, if people wanted to follow you online, there's no stalkers allowed. Where's the best place for them to follow you?
Katie Can Draw across all the social media. That's my Twitter, that's my Tumblr, that's my Instagram, that's my Facebook fan page. And then my website is katiecandraw.com, but basically everything that is on every other social media just kind of condenses there.
Right.
And yeah, where to find me.
And if people wanted to sort of like get with you before the show and they wanted to pre-order the print, is that all being run through Acme's Dark
Yes.
Ink site? Okay.
Yeah, and
So
I think we've pre-sold over 100.
Right, and they sort of like they pare that down. So for those people who may not be aware, you're doing a limited edition print run, and it's 250 pieces, but you can't sell all 250 before the show, right?
Right.
Okay, so that means that those people who want to get a print and ensure that they can get it, you can pre-order it now because they haven't hit that cap yet. But as soon as the show opens, there's going to be a mad dash, and you want to make sure you get it. Yes. Now, in addition to this new print, are you going to bring some of your previous prints, or are those all sold out as well?
All 3 of the other Celebration prints I've sold out at the show.
Okay.
So I don't have any of those. I'm not bringing any of my other inventory. Disney Lucasfilm Press is going to have the Star Wars books, so I'm not bringing those. So all I'm doing is I'm going to have a jar out. If you want a remark on the print, it's a donate whatever you want to the ACLU.
Awesome. Awesome.
And then I'm just going to be doing a live painting demo of a 14 by 17 big watercolor. Like last Celebration, I did this huge Rebels piece with the Ewoks. And I think this year I'm going to do something from the original trilogy with kind of the main set, and maybe something funky with like the Death Star lights in the background, something with lots of effects, so kids can come up and watch me paint and ask questions. And
where's that going to be at, that you're going to do the painting demo?
Right at my table at the art show. Since I don't have any inventory, I'm just going to bring an easel and my watercolors and set up right there.
That's awesome. And then are you going to be doing any of the mini prints there, or you're just going to be doing Nope. Awesome.
The big stuff, I'm not doing. I have C2E2 the following weekend.
Right,
so
right.
I'm just going to go to Celebration, and Celebration is the show where I don't
celebrate.
worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just there to celebrate. Katie,
it's been like Star Wars.
It's been absolutely fantastic to talk to you today. I love catching up with you. I really enjoy your artwork. I enjoy your story. I enjoy everything that you do. And I thank you again. Is there anything else that you want to tell everybody as we sign out here?
Nope. Just everybody have a great day.
Thank you very much. And for people who want to follow Katie Cook, again, that's Katie Can Draw across all the social medias. And if you want to follow the things that I have going on, I'm Spencer B3, and you can follow me online there. Katie, absolutely fantastic to talk to you. Have a wonderful day.
Have a great day.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
The dog.
The dog.